Today, I'm talking to Denise Charlton, who is a prolific campaigner on lots of important social issues, and she's also Chief Executive of the Community Foundation Ireland. As it's International Women's Day and the theme this year is equity for all, I wanted to chat to Denise and find out a bit more about her and what equity means to her in the context of the arts.
So I've been very lucky in my life. I've been very privileged to work on lots of campaigns, social change, social justice, and I suppose equality has probably been core to everything I've been involved with. So whether that's LGBTQ rights, whether it's countering sexual and domestic violence, whether it's seeing how we support and help people navigate the world that are fleeing war or displaced because of climate. There's some of the examples, I suppose, that I've been engaged with. And I've always been really lucky to work with amazing change makers in that context. I now work for Community Foundation Ireland, and we're a philanthropic hub. But our mission is equality for all in thriving communities. And we're really lucky to be able to partner ICO because they're inspirational in how they use the arts and music in the pursuit of equality. So that's me.
So the theme of International Women's Day, it's about equity for all. So you've spoken very interestingly about equality, and I'm quite interested in equity and how equity applies in the arts.
So I love International Women's Day because it gives us an opportunity to celebrate progress, but it always challenges us to think a bit more. And so I suppose as an organisation and a foundation, equality is to our core. But how do you achieve equality? And I suppose for me, equity is part of, they're interrelated. So equality is we want everybody to have the same thing, the same chance to participate in life, you know, to be free of violence, to be able to have an education, to have employment, all of that. And we all want people to have equal access to that. But actually the starting point isn't necessarily fair or equal. So you can't assume that everybody can have equality in the same way. And I suppose in terms of women and the arts and International Women's Day, what it's made us do as a foundation is really think about, well, when we're thinking about equality, how does that play out for people who have autism and ADHD? How does it play out for people living in poverty? How does it play out for somebody who's been displaced because of migration or war? How does it play out for young people who are in rural Ireland who don't have broadband? So it really makes us think about, in order to achieve equality, what is equity about? You know, what's the starting point when we do the let's go? How do we make sure everybody's at the starting point so that they can get to the finish point of equality? That's how I understand it.
And so when we think about the arts, how does that relate to the world of the arts in Ireland at the moment?
So I think about the arts in two ways, and I suppose I've experienced it in two ways in my life. One is as a tool for social change. So the arts is extraordinary. So when we fought for marriage equality, when we fought for reproductive rights, when we fought for freedom from gender-based violence, the arts were always crucial in that because artists have a way of communicating the vision of where we're going to in a way that I'm envious of. I think it's fantastic and very important in terms of advocating for social change. They're a very important part of the jigsaw. So that's one way, and I think in Ireland we appreciate that. We're a nation of storytellers, which is a form of art, and storytelling was a really important mechanism in our progressive movements that we achieved marriage equality and other key points of equality. But the other is access to the arts, and often that can be taken for granted. So, people with talent, my niece is a singer and I see that she had access to realise her talent, but others don't. And so how do we ensure that people have equity and equality in accessing the arts and expressing their talent? And then we as audiences, there's not equality or equity in terms of having the opportunity to be an audience. And the more diversity there is and the more quality is in the talent, the better it is for audiences, but they have to be equal too. So I think in terms of the arts, it's really important that we consider it in our pursuit of equality with that equity lens. I think it's really important that young people get to express themselves, that young people get to appreciate the arts, that people generally are allowed that, and it's seen as not as a privilege, but something that's very important in our lives.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting actually, because I hadn't particularly thought about it in terms of the audience access is also part of equity. I see it, you know, the ICO, we have a female leader, the chairperson of the board is a lady. There's quite an equal gender balance. And so I'm kind of sitting quite smugly thinking, well, it's not something that we need to really think about in the ICO. But of course, International Women's Day highlighting this really brings it to the fore. I'm kind of wondering, how do you see the future of this how does this develop going forwards?
See, I mean, that's an example. It's just fantastic. I mean, it is brilliant. You can't be what you can't see. So I would be feeling very proud of that. But I also think it's a bit like a wheelchair user. You know, if you are in a chair, you see the world through that lens and you know what's accessible and what's not accessible. And I think that's true when women are in top positions. They see where there's a lack of representation in audiences or in talent. But also then we bring the equity lens and we see, well, it's not just about a gender balance, it's about other balances as well. So that's why I think it's great about International Women's Day, because we get to celebrate organisations like ICO that do have fantastic, strong women leaders, you know, leading out on the organisation, and then thinking about, well, what's the diversity then behind that we can challenge ourselves to go the next step. But it is fantastic. And, you know, in terms of women's representation in Ireland, we're good and bad. So we've had like presidents, amazing. You know, yesterday I was talking to somebody, all of the presidents of the universities at the moment nearly are women. You know, so it's fantastic. On the other hand, the next layer are not. And,
right, yeah.
The Oireachtas isn't great. So we have great stories to tell, and I think we should tell them because it gives hope and aspiration and belief. And then we should challenge where we're not so good. And you're great. So I think that's to be congratulated and to be celebrated.
Fantastic, Denise. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.